man I'm talking today, I consider him a personal friend. The man I'm talking to today is in a field where the country has almost failed to figure itself out. The man I'm talking today is a man who understands life, that is grown from sleeping in a hut without a blanket, without a mattress, that he knows that life. That if you tell him what from grass to grace means, it's going to give you a perfect story into that, and that will be the story for the episode. He knows what family is. He knows what the true life definition is. But he's in a position now whether he understands life, whether he understands what the true meaning of life is really. He has to make it tick. He is controlling a sector that is big, a sector that once it performs is appointed to the performance of the economy. But then the stories from the sector have always been on the negative. The man I'm talking about is a man that I've spoken to not once, separately, on this particular subject. And him and I, we've always said, we gotta figure. As a business journalist, it makes sense for him to be on the Captain's Arena. At this time, let me then introduce you to the show. This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. The hashtag is Captain's Arena. So the captain of the industry that we're speaking today is a man who is in the insurance business. But then, on a very special side, the brokers in it, and those ones are the ones that the insurance sector is riding in on. At this time, then let me introduce to you the Insurance Brokers Association of Kenya chairman. His name, Anthony Mwangi. How are you doing, sir?
Well,
happy to have you around.
Happy to have me.
On this particular episode, that is.
I'm excited.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'd like to start from a very basic point on this conversation because we have a lot of time for it. For any other person who doesn't understand what your association is and what you're trying to achieve, in a very short format, how will you tell them who you are and what you're trying to do in the insurance sector?
Thank you. People have a very great misconception when they hear the word broker.
Yes.
Because in most instances, it's used very loosely as that somebody who brokers a deal. You want this, this guy has to rule for it, make up his markup, and bring it to you. And then because of that, there has been that misconception as to what a broker or insurance brokers are. But it's a very professional term, Simba. And to earn that title of a broker is regulated by law under Cap 456, the Rules of Kenya Insurance Act. And if you use it, if you're not authorized to use it, is an offense also under the Insurance Act.
Yes.
And there are only 200 and a few counting in the country. And it's a costly affair to be called that. You spend not less than 300, 400,000 shillings in terms of what you require to be able to be talked to as a broker.
Also.
So what we do, I give you another analogy so that you understand. People appreciate advocates of the High Court, somebody who takes your case to court and articulates issues on your behalf, a lawyer. We are the lawyers of the insurance industry. So our role as brokers, therefore, is that we are the go-to people when it comes to insurance. We listen to our customers. We listen to their pain points. What exactly are they saying? And we craft insurance products and solutions for them. It's not just a question of that you go to a customer and he gives you business and you earn a commission. A broker is not a conveyor belt. That you just get business from point A. I find you in a restaurant, you give me your car, I take it to a certain insurance company, and it's there. I am also an educator. I will advise you and tell you exactly what this insurance is, the difference between this particular insurance and the other one. Why is it? Why is this particular company different from the other? Why am I charging you this and not that other one? There are 54 insurance companies, 55 actually, in this country. So how do you distinguish which is which amongst all these people? That is the role of a broker. So we educate our customers, we seek solutions for them. We actually even make products. It's only that by law we are not supposed to own them, but we then take it to the insurance company and anchor them there, tailor-made for your specific needs. That is what a broker is. There is also a very critical role that I must not forget, called satisfying the promise, especially when it comes to settlement of claims. It's our business, it's our job to go to you, get this claim paid, follow it through, do the documentation on your behalf, follow it up with the insurance company when you're in the comfort of your seat. Until that point, the claim needs to be settled. So that, perhaps if I have to talk about the role of insurance, we might not have anything else to discuss in this program. So, but I think I consider those are key areas that we do. Of course, the last one I would say is also something called risk mitigation, risk management. We don't wait for things to happen. I know you are insured, but even if you are insured, if something happens and it means you don't have your car for a period of time, you're not in use of your business or your building for a period of time. So we come there, or a professional broker, and most of our members are, not most, our members are professional. So we'll come to your premises if it's a business, it's a factory. We'll come with people we call surveyors. We'll carry out a survey. What exactly do you, especially right now, I mean, with all this downpour, if you don't advise your customers, particularly on the areas that they need to mitigate, on losses, have you checked on your gutters? Those small things that you think are not important. You have stock. Are they on, are they raised up in a manner that they will not be, if water seeps through, they will not be able to be affected by water? How are the locking systems in terms of doors and your burglar proofs? How well are they secured? All those are areas that basically we walk through with our clients, so that we minimize on the chances of loss. But in the event that then the worst happens, we are there for you. We never abandon you.
Pretty much. Just I want us to take a step back today, Anthony, so we can look at you as a person before we even talk about what you're doing on this particular seat right here as the chairman of the association. Take me back a little bit. I mean, when you now start to introspect, take me back to your early days in primary school. Did you ever think that you would actually be in this position here today?
Wow. Never. First of all, like most of our viewers perhaps, perhaps you think insurance is the way we grew up thinking, that they reap where they didn't sow. We had that growing up. So essentially, I never imagined that at any given time I'd work in the insurance industry. But as God has our destiny and our fate, here am I.
Do you remember what changed it? What do you want to be when you were growing up?
Two professions. One I managed, one I didn't. The first one, I really wanted to be a broadcaster.
It's not too late. Yes, you can still change it. You can change it right here, right now.
So I really wanted to really appear on TV. Perhaps that's why once in a while you call me.
That's it.
So I think in a sense, most likely I may have actually achieved both of them if you think about it. And the other one, I wanted to become an advocate, or a lawyer for that matter. That at least I managed. So those were two key areas I really wanted to venture. I thought those guys sitting behind the cameras were looking very nice. And then I think I have this advocacy mentality, working for people, fighting for people's issues at a very young age. I really wanted to then become a lawyer. I didn't even know. I don't even think I had interacted with one very well, even to want that. I think those are inborn talents and strengths that God bestows on his people. And that's basically how I started. But my journey didn't start just like that. When I finished my A level, see, but I don't know whether you know what class that is.
Yeah, I do know that. Just before KCPE.
I knew you don't know.
There's a
A-level is the one that after we didn't have KCP, we had KCE, Kenya Certificate of Education. Then you move to another 2 classes that were called Kenya Advanced Secondary Education. That Form 5 and Form 6 before you go to the university. Before I went to the university, my father, through a friend, wanted me to go to the forces, to become either an inspector of police and stuff like that. That time, at that point in time, I had had a few encounters in my village with policemen. I knew them only with their Maria vehicles, with Land Rovers. I wasn't very excited with that proposition. So I was ready for any other than that profession. Yeah. So I had to do anything and everything to be sure that I don't go to Kekajo or any other college for that matter. I had passed to go to university to do a BA. But again, I thought that was also not really, because it used to bring me back to the administration, because most of the BA students of the day are the people who came back to become administrators and DOs. And for some reason, I wasn't very keen to become an administrator. So I convinced my father that I want to do computers. So I enrolled myself to do computers. And I remember we had computers that were called Mwangi, IBM, and we had floppy disks. Today now I see those things that are people using today, and I can tell you we have made a huge stride.
It's a journey.
So I did some course waiting to see then how my future would look like. And when I finished doing my diploma in computer programming, and I passed very well, I got a job with an insurance company, which was an insurance brokerage firm. That's perhaps my first, brush with insurance companies. It was called Capital Insurance Brokers. Was one of the largest insurance brokers of the day. And I got into the claims section to help them in recording of the claims. Computers were not very common that day, so we were one of the few companies essentially that were adopting, computers. So it's nothing what you know of it today. So my first challenge in that company is that I quarreled with all the secretaries of the company because I took over their job, because I could now have a better machine because they were using typewriters. I could now use a machine. I can rectify my mistakes on the screen, and by the time you are printing, I can proofread. It's noise. It's not. It doesn't make noise like the machines, the typewriters. So I more or less took over their jobs, and really they almost pushed me out of the company. I also then detested that because I thought I was supposed to come here as a computer programmer.
Were you getting
Why am I giving it? Also, I've now become
the enemy of the people.
Not only the enemy, but now I'm actually become the typist of the company.
That's it.
But along the lines, it was very interesting because I started now inputting data on the computer. The time now I have to input some data. There were very interesting scenarios that I would read in the newspaper, with what we call claim forms. These are forms that you record the happenings of an accident. So you'll find somebody who says he was driving on the middle of the road and they just met with a tree and they had an encounter, and that's exactly how we have recorded. And I thought that was hilarious. So there was not one single claim that looked like the other.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think I got very interested.
Yeah.
But then I realized I'm dealing with a lot of legal issues. When I look at these forms, they are full of insurance jargon. And even looking at the insurance product itself, I saw it has a lot of legal issues. It's at that point in time I thought to myself, I think I can go back. I can, instead of now doing this, why don't I apply to the University of Nairobi to undertake a course in law. And as fate would have it, I applied for my bachelor's in law, and I was admitted to go and do law in University of Nairobi. So I did, and did my bachelor's in law, and then of course went to Kenya School of Law. It was a very, 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 very tough time because I have to balance my work, but my employer was very magnanimous with me. I'll forever be grateful that they allowed for me to juggle in through school and working until finally I was able to be through.
Yes.
So as I came back now properly in the same organization to work as a lawyer now, I was given a full mandate. And I think one of the most interesting things that happens in life is that, in just 3 short years, I moved from one salary bracket to I think 5 times the salary bracket.
Do you remember that period? Was it a culture shock to you?
Of course it was.
From one with a very humble background.
Absolutely. I've told you in a different setup that, though we were not necessarily poor, my father was a primary school teacher.
Yes.
So in the sense of it in words, it cannot be said we were the worst in the society.
Yes.
Actually, I think in our village people would have considered us rich, but I can tell you it was a humble background, like
yes.
most of the backgrounds that you see around.
Does it?
So then to be able to jump from that point to where I was now was a huge leap, and I'm ever grateful that I made that decision.
Yes.
So because of that, then I was given now the docket to handle claims. Now with a bit more informed mind, now I can be able to articulate and look at through the contracts. And that's how basically I have risen up to be where I am.
This particular position. We're going to talk about that in the second part of this conversation. I'll take you back a bit again, back to your family. They say, once you become, that's when you start to realize, so this is what exactly made me become this particular person that I am today. So when you look within your family, maybe the way you were brought up, is there anything that you look back to and say, that one is what made me the man I am today?
Absolutely. I think my parents had a lot to do with that, particularly my father.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't necessarily say, unfortunately I lost my mother at a very early age.
Yeah.
Just when I was in this transition, getting to a job and all that.
Yeah.
But my father has been until his demise, like 3 or so years ago,
yes.
A community leader.
Yes.
Who was involved in almost every aspect of community's life, from church to coffee politics, to politics of the day of the country, to being a local mentor.
Yes,
there are so many people that have actually passed through his hands that today are titans of some of the biggest companies, including even in the insurance industry. Yeah. Some even cabinet ministers, some bank managers and MDs who pass through his hands in terms of mentorship. So therefore I grew in that sort of environment. First of all, he never believed a word called impossible. You couldn't tell him something is impossible. He believed, because again of course of his own background, he never thought there was anything like impossible, and therefore I grew almost trying to imagine that anything that I perceive is possible. So perhaps it's the old cliche of whatever a man thinketh, so is he. Because like I said, when I got this whole idea, I can be able to become, a lawyer or somebody who can communicate with other people. I guess, and to a great extent, I think it's my father's traits, because I could be able to see how he's handling people's issues with his modest education as a P3 primary school teacher, and from very also humble grounds, he also grew up in industry and became even a headmaster of both primary. I was a headmaster of a primary school at one point in time, and was also the headmaster of a secondary school, which was sponsored by the same church. And that also, and he also bought a car. When his peers were way not even thinking of anything. So there were some traits that I think that he implanted in my psyche, in my mind, to want to become somebody who also solves people's issues in society. Somebody who can also aspire. I had even, and I think I'm growing a little bit older, but I had even serious plans of how actually I can become a politician, a leader. Let me remove the word politician, a leader in my community. And I'm grateful, again, for instance, like the first county government when it came. I played a very, very big role in Mwangi County, and I thank the governor of the day. He gave me the opportunity to be the first founder member, the chairman, founder and chairman of something that was very, very popular called Shiringi kwa Shiringi. I was the founding chair. So I think that trait of leadership has been with me across the times, and some of these things, and I like the question because it has perhaps allowed me to see where it came from.
Reflect back, isn't it?
You reflect back and you say, where could I perhaps have? And I think that I definitely picked it from my father. My mother, what I can also remember, she was also a real leader. She was also in charge. She was also secretary of the women in charge. So I would say we have had been a family of leaders to a great extent.
When you look back now, let's try and pick it up. When you look back, every other kid has this one thing that you couldn't do in line with how you were brought up. They say leaders they're men, they're not by accident. When you look back, what is this biggest mistake you could not do in your family? Like if you did that, you'd be slaughtered.
Wow. That's a tough one, but I think there were many.
There were many.
One, of course, at that point in time, I think was to be found with a girl.
Well, until it became a problem now. When you get older, they're like, where is your girl?
Maybe because that would have been a big one. Because we've grown in charge. We're not even allowed to touch. We had a small shop. We could not even be allowed to sell paraffin using the Tusker bottle. My parents could not.
They could not allow that.
They could not allow that.
Do not use that to measure.
To measure. It doesn't have anything. It's wrong spent, but you could not even be able to measure. So can you then imagine if you are now?
There's a strict background, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
it put me to the straight and narrow because I grew like every other person. There were no gates to our homes like any other. But that just strictness of my parents basically put me straight and narrow.
Yeah. Pretty much. I would like us to also focus on this then. And it's a personal question that I would like to ask you because we're going to get in the second part of this conversation now. See your performance and whether you're really achieving what you already envisioned. Take a minute. I mean, you find yourself here, so let's look back. Out of all the positions you've held over the years prior to this particular one, is there one that you would say prepared you for this particular position that you're currently holding?
Well, to be here has been a process. So it didn't just wake up and found myself as the chair of Association of Insurance Brokers of Kenya, because I started, in our association is structured in committees. There are various committees, and I was headhunted by somebody who got to know that I have a talent I can be able to bring to the association as a lawyer. At that point in time, even today, there are not very many who are practicing in the insurance industry. So when I was headhunted, basically I was supposed to come and serve in a committee called Technical and Legal. There were a lot of legal issues and technical issues that were going on that needed now some legal might. Therefore, I did that, and I served in that committee as a member, rose to become a convener of that same committee. In the following term of the same administration in our association, they now brought me to the board. I was nominated now to be on the board, where I also served for another like 4 years or so. Then I vied to become the vice chair of the association, and the chair that I deputized when he retired, when his term came to an end, then I also presented myself to members to be their chairman.
Yes, sir.
So I would say for this position, essentially, it was a process that really prepared me for who I am today. But before then, I would say I think both at home, being the firstborn of our family,
Yes, sir.
and also in the society, I have found myself serving in different capacities that I would also say gave me the courage that even that big position, because I'm first among equals. My members, some of them are high and mighty. But the fact that actually they privileged me with this position,
Yes.
Could only have taken guts, because you actually sometimes, chairing meetings that you are with your seniors in your industry, but because you believe in your cause, and they also see that you have something that you can be able to contribute, and you don't shirk. So it's been a process to be here, to be able to say that now I can be able to stand for the chairmanship of Aibk. It's a serious professional body. Therefore, I really feel a lot of privilege and honor that our members basically have bestowed on me and the team that currently I'm leading.
Pretty much. Guess what? We're just getting started on the man himself, because now after this, then it's going to be quite simple for him to give us an explanation of what he wanted to achieve on a personal level once he arose to that position. But then those questions we'll be having about the insurance sector, about this number that is still single digit, what is really going on? I mean, it's right there within it. What are we going to do so that we get into a double digit figure and the impact generally that this particular association is having on the insurance sector in the country? Once we come back, this is the Captain's Arena.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka, hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Welcome back to the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Shawalskiyage. In case you are just joining us, we are with the chairman of the Insurance Brokers Association of Kenya, Aibk, right here. We're speaking with Mr. Mwangi. Good. On the second part of our conversation, as you arose to that particular position, you know what they say again, in a place where there's a hierarchy, you will know that you're going to get it. And I think you must have known that this position now, with how people know me now within the organization, I'm going to get it. and so you got it. Without revealing what your personal targets were, would you say that currently as it is, you will sit here with us today and say, within the organization or within the association, I have achieved my top targets?
I don't think I'll be very factual if I say I have accomplished all that I would have really wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
Because this is a very dynamic field with challenging moments and times every other day.
Also.
As we speak with you here, we're dealing with e-teams, like every other.
We are the biggest one in the country currently.
Like every other,
yeah.
every other industry. It's during my tenure that the bank assurance, for instance, has really held grip of our sector.
Also.
Bank assurance. It's also during my tenure that we have had serious cases of what we call in our industry direct procurement by government agencies. It's during my tenure that most of the aggregators like SACCOs and everybody else have rolled their sleeves to get into a sector and to do insurance in a big way. So, whereas we had thought we by now will be able to have captured a sizable market share as brokers, new dynamics have come up in business. Therefore, making us go back again to the drawing board again and again and again. And therefore, even when you look at our strategic plan, we have to make a lot of mitigation towards it in order to be able to, because we had set ourselves to achieve this by this time, but something has come up. Of course, COVID didn't help matters, again, because the effects of it now are being fully felt, and again, it's within that same period that I also assumed power. But I would say, in generalities, in terms of being able to work for our members and fighting for what are their rights, and putting our best foot forward in ensuring that they still hold forte in this business that they have babysitted for a very long time. I think that we've done very well. We have been to court, unfortunately, with government, even with our own regulator, to be able to sometimes look for an arbiter when we feel like some of our rights are being eroded. And as much as it has brought in a bit of brought then tension, but we have reached a point whereby again we are on very good standing and working with the regulator and our big brothers, the insurance companies. So some of the key issues that I consider to have been key to during my tenure is basically, first of all, improving the relationship between the insurance companies and my members. That is the Association of Kenya Insurance and the relationship between Association of Insurance Brokers of Kenya. I would say with pride, there may never be 100%, because even siblings sometimes have that sibling rivalry. But I think we have had a very workable relationship where we need to engage on some hard laugh and talk. We do that, but with a lot of respect for each other. Where we need to cooperate and sit down on a round table, even on a meal, and say, let's work for the industry. We have worked very well. So we have held ourselves in that high esteem. We have also claimed our position as an industry that now elicits some sort of response. When government wants something from the industry, our name is always on the mailing list, that we are consulted when issues to do with either new registration, new government thinking on some areas. Right now we are on a task force that is looking at the aspect of PSV and it is, modalities and how the business is being conducted. We are there. We have also been able to fight back, especially where we think our businesses have been taken unfairly by what I'm calling direct procurement. Direct procurement is where government agencies decide to procure the services of insurance directly without involving brokers. We have been able to do both education to those organizations, so that they realize that we are also regulated and legal entities who are also, who also pay taxes in this market, and therefore we should also be allowed to have our powder fresh from those businesses, because they are Kenyan businesses and we are Kenyan citizens, and we have had I would say a good response from a number of them, and therefore we have managed to get some of the business that we had lost back into the market. The other thing that we have been able to achieve is that to a great extent we still have challenges with the issues of premiums and a lot of those issues, but we have been able to clean up our books with a lot of insurance companies. Today, I would say we are not looked down by the mainstream insurance, like especially the insurers, including the office of the regulator, in as far as payments are concerned. We may have some of issues and legacy issues that we are still dealing with, but on a good day now, we can walk into any room and we are clean in our books.
And it's a good point that you're mentioning that, because I wanted to remind you that even before you arose to this particular position, you and I spoke about this particular issue.
Absolutely.
Where insurance companies were looking at the brokers in the country and saying, this is our problem, because majority of premiums were held with the brokers in the country. You are now at the perfect position for me then to ask you that question correctly. What have you done around this particular area as the chairman now of this particular association?
I think we agreed to remove the veil and look at each other on the face, eyeball to eyeball, and say, guys, and I remember a meeting we had been called by the regulator in one of the outstations of Nairobi, and he basically put a list there of us, all of us, the way the market at that point in time was looking. And we agreed. I think time has come for us to be able to start cleaning up. There were still also, again, legacy issues and reconciliations issues that were not necessarily 100% correct. We had, government agencies and other bodies that we had also not corrected. We still also owed money, genuinely. So the fact that actually, and I think we agreed, this is a problem. It's affecting our sector, because every time we go into meetings, instead of looking at issues that are helpful to all of us, like how can we go out marketing together, how can we develop products together, the first thing that is on the table is money, and we realize it's not working for anybody, for the well-being of not only us, but also even for the clients that we serve and the whole insuring public. So we confronted the problem. So we decided to start doing reconciliation with insurance companies, and we started paying some of those claims. There may be a few that remaining, but I can tell you right now, 95% of what at that point in time we owed the insurance company are cleaned up. We also managed now to clean up our books with our partners, the insurance companies, because again they used to carry. There were a lot of accruals, of premiums that they are saying we owe these, because perhaps it has not been reconciled. So this whole exercise that we have been doing for the last 3 or 4 years has helped us now be at the same page with everybody, and I think that has been very helpful and very, very successful.
Has it been easy for you? Like you came into an area where you're now the chairman of the brokers who are getting blamed for holding back on premiums. Could you describe for me that job? Has it been easy for you over the past couple of years?
No, it was very, very, very difficult. You couldn't drive a good car without being somebody, without somebody saying most likely
it's part of a problem.
This part of the problem. This is premium.
He's holding on to it. He's not
good or anything. I mean, it wasn't very, very good. But I think the worst of it all is where we couldn't be able to have efficient claim services for our customers. That, to me and to my association, was perhaps the lowest, because every time perhaps you walk into an insurance company or you complain of a certain player in the market that is not paying your claims, you are reminded, but you are hoarding premiums. So it was a very tough talk, but with a lot of laugh. So it wasn't easy. And even to this day, it's not easy, because talking about money is not easy, but it had to be done. And thankfully, I think we on our way out.
Let's talk about another area now. And you and I have also spoken about it, and probably for any other person listening to you, they would like to pick it up. You're overlooking a sector that's a direct pointer to the performance of the economy. Then every other time somebody will be asking questions about why Kenya's economy is not performing, you're the center stage of that conversation. That insurance performs better. If you start saying double figures insurance, that means that majority of Kenyans have assets that they're guarding against loss. So the economy is performing. But it's not happening. Why are we still stuck on a single digit?
See, but let me first of all shock you by letting you that Kenyan insurance sector is the third best in the entire continent of Africa.
Is that now?
So even when you see the single digit, 3%,
yeah,
or wherever you want to see it, 2.5, 2.8, 3%, we're still the third best,
you're shocking low.
largest
Yeah.
penetration market
Even
in Africa.
Even with 3%.
Even with 3%. Perhaps it's even a bigger shocker. Our sector in the insurance industry is bigger than all the other East African countries combined.
Is it now?
We have companies in this country that are bigger in terms of premium volume than the entire, insurance production of a country like Burundi or Rwanda.
Yes.
Or the above.
Yes.
So even as we look at 3%, that's how we are doing in Africa. So that tells you that the potential that this market has is enormous. Huge. If we were only to hit 5, 6, you're talking about 2 digits, 10%, we all be walking on gold. But there are reasons why we are, because we are not comfortable with the 3%. We are certainly not satisfied. We are not comfortable. And I think everything that is being done from the regulator's office to our association is to ensure how well we can be able to grow this 3%. That has been allowed that figure since almost when we came in.
Yes.
Let's first of all appreciate and understand that the rest of the Kenyan economy is growing. Right? If you look at other sectors of the economy, not too long ago, 20 years ago, I guess, we were collecting about 200, 300 billion shillings in revenue, in tax, government. Today, we are in the 2 trillion range. So you can see that huge jump in terms of how the economy is doing. Therefore, we have also been growing because our figures have also grown up from 150, 160 billion. We now, between general and what we call general insurance and life insurance. General is where we insure properties and stuff like that. And life is where we have life products. We shy of 500 million, 500 billion. So it's growing. It's only that also the rest of the economy is also growing, and some sectors growing at a faster rate than the insurance industry. So we may not necessarily beat ourselves so hard and say we have been not doing well. If you look at the upper hill of Nairobi, it's littered with quite a bit of insurance buildings you see there. So there has been tremendous, and the industry truly is actually growing. But some of our challenges are of our own making. There is a lot of what we call undercutting of insurances. We are not costing our products the right way. For instance, a product that we should be costing 10%, you'll find that the market, because of market dynamics, it could be being charged at 3%.
Oof.
Right?
It's a heavy undercutting rather.
So it's a huge undercutting. So, but if we really want to cost our products, our solutions, the way they are supposed to be costed, chances are that today 4-5% to the GDP, penetration to the GDP, we would have hit that mark. I think the other thing that perhaps that have also slowed us down to the 3% again is, though there is still growing awareness of insurance, I think we are not starting it in the right way. I am a very firm advocate, and I think I've told you this many times, that I'll be very happy to see insurance taught from primary schools. Because you don't have to work, just like money. You don't have to work in a bank to be able to touch money. You don't have to know how to live well, to eat well, nutritionally and everything else, to learn about health. There are those things that cut across our lives as human beings, and insurance is one of them. Because if you're not going to work in the insurance industry, you'll buy property, you'll buy a car, you'll buy a house that you require cover. You need a medical cover, you need a pension for when you grow old. So you'll find that you'll never run away from wanting to know what insurance is all about. Yes. So I think we are starting to learn insurance as a people, as a nation, a little bit too late in life. We need really to make insurance understood at a slightly earlier age, yes, so that people first of all learn that culture. If it is savings for retirement and pensions, you start immediately, you hit your first job in the market. But now we have young people, you tell him at 28 or 25 or 26, start planning for your life, for the future. First of all, he looks at you and then thinks you have lost it. Because I'm starting life and you're telling me to start preparing for my for my retirement. For your retirement, but yeah, had he had an advantage of understanding that starting does not mean you are ending your life, right? You're only starting early. Right? You'd have done well. It's like eating. If you are shown how to eat well, does not mean that somebody doesn't want to enjoy some of the freebies in life and the sweet teeth things. But they're saying, could you start being healthy a little bit earlier and maintain that? Once in a while, you have your cake, you have your soda, and you have your things. But can you start be able to do some of your exercises early in life before, perhaps illnesses start catching up with you? So it's also the same way with insurance. So there has been a few issues that have led us to where we are. Not, of course, to mention the purchasing power. Yes, again, with all the many challenges that one has as an earner, to be able to put the food on the table, to be able to fuel, to pay school fees, and a few other such financial constraints with a lot of consumers. Then again, we find that the disposable income left for people to do insurance, it's there. But I also agree that as an industry, if we compare with some of our peers in the market, especially the finance sector, we could also do a little bit more in terms of customer education, customer sensitization. Yes. We need to do a little bit more clinics for people to appreciate insurance. Already remember where I started, when I was telling you I joined an industry that I was not very happy about because of what I was hearing. That connotation hasn't completely been eroded. It is still there. It may be a slightly better, but it is still there. And therefore, we still have some work to do to ensure that we have a better image, yes, better brand name. People are able to appreciate insurance a little bit more. And I think if we do that, then we may most likely be able to see our 3% go to 4, 5, and hopefully one day, yes, in my lifetime, yes, 10%.
That's it.
I want to walk on gold bought from insurance.
At 10%, I mean, if we're the biggest at 3.5%, I think we're going to get there. Just within the organization now, within the association, there's something big that you'll be having as Aibk, which is essentially your strategic plan, 2020 to 2024. For any other person watching this particular episode, we're right within 2024. This is a month of May, the April that we're doing this. You could call me May. That plan, in a minute, how would you summarize it, and what are you looking at in that strategic plan?
The strategic plan was had several, I would say, phases, yes, and major milestones that we really wanted to achieve. One, of course, is enhancement of digital era and digital, I would say, let's say digital era. Yes. We really wanted to go big in terms of digitizing most of our services and our clients, because we then realized and we had identified in the strategic plan that I think where the business now is going, is already there, I think so.
It's actually right.
It's actually on technological platforms. Yes. So we had one very big leg of the strategic plan that was gearing towards digitization of various aspects of our clients' works, and that we have done well. Certainly not where we would have wanted to be. It's a costly affair. Comes with its cost because of equipment buy, and technology also keeps on changing. But I think we see a lot of our members now are embracing technology. You remember even now our motor certificates, we no longer issue the physical ones. We're now able to set our physical, our motor insurances for our vehicles digitally. So that therefore is a plus. The other thing that we really wanted to do is on capacity building. We realized, unlike when we joined the industry, some of us who are a little bit older in the industry, where there was very organized, well-trained, there were various organizations that are training staffs. We haven't given, or for the last decade or so, we had not given capacity building of people who work in the broking sector. An uplift in terms of capacity building. The individual members, individual companies definitely have their own plan, but our plan was to ensure that at least we across the divide of all our members, that members are well capacitated in terms of the emerging risks, emerging technologies that are there. For instance, oil and gas is a very new industry phenomenon in our Kenyan market. It is not even yet there. And I don't think we have even too many people currently who can really underwrite properly the issues of oil and gas. We have gold. Our country is, we are either mining. We have gone big time in mining, and I think, remember, we even have a home ministry of mining. So the precious minerals and metals and stuff like that. That's also another area. So there are a lot of areas that we need to capacitate our members so that they now can handle the new emerging markets, because that's where the future is. So those are two. The third one that we were also very, very keen in terms of our strategic plan is entrenching Aibk and insurance broking into the mainstay of the insurance market of this republic. And like we had said earlier, of course, we are having very big challenges because there are now new channels of distribution. The insurtechs, the bank assurance, the SACCOs, and other aggregators are in our market. But we are still holding forte, courtesy of our strategic plan, which we had identified as one of the tools that we want to use to be able to ensure that at least we don't get wiped out by the market. So we have been doing quite a bit of, we normally meet with our members every single month in something we call breakfast meetings. And in those breakfast meetings, we ensure that at least in every of those meetings, there is a speaker who is able to equip the members with, or give members some sort of information to make them better and how they can be able to approach business.
Pretty much. Just one then, I want you to take 2 minutes on this particular one. It's a series of questions that are essentially going to show us the man that you become nowadays. And think about them carefully before you respond to them. One thing that you used to do back then, which you don't do now, based on this particular position.
Of course, now you have to be in the right place at the right time.
As it?
You cannot now be found in all manner of places. Not that necessarily used to go, but you are much more careful.
That's it.
You can't speak the way you feel you want to say, because when I speak out here, somebody listening and reading my speech, you would say Aibk chairman.
That's it.
And that is the industry position. So I have to be more careful.
That's it.
In our WhatsApp groups, I must not necessarily engage on every
It becomes
arguments,
a screenshot, isn't it? Becomes the position of Aibk.
Because it be the position of the Aibk chair. So you have to be a little bit restrained even when you feel. I should have commented there. I should have said there. So there are some of those things that you must perhaps tell yourself, this one, let me pass it.
Yeah,
Otherwise may be construed in a different, even sometimes in our own chat room for our members. Sometimes you see comments and some discourse, and unless you feel that something is going a little bit of hard, you allow it to pass. Because then you'll be said, chairman has said.
Chairman has said, and that becomes a fact.
And that becomes a fact.
Let's go to the next one. You have 15 seconds on this one. If there's one thing about you that makes you wake up every morning, I said, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go to Aibk, I've got an agenda, I'm going to do it. What is that one thing that makes you wake up every day?
Is to see the broker still survives the onslaught on their business, on our business.
Does it?
That makes me awake.
Pretty much. Second one value that once you call it quits, because everybody's going to call it quits from the face of the planet, one value that you like for your kids to grow up with, what would it be?
Integrity.
Finally, 5 seconds on this. When are you going to call it quits from insurance business?
Insurance is a lifestyle. So you never, you don't quit from insurance. You may retire, but you never quit. You always find people talking about it. Even in your old age, actually, if there is anything I would want to do to give back to society, is to be able to go out there and speak to people on issues of risk, because insurance is how you manage risk. That is something that I'll be able to do and to see. So I in terms of my chairmanship, I'm on my last leg, but in terms of retiring from the insurance industry, I haven't given it a thought. I'm still a young man.
That's it, pretty much. The chairman of Aibk. Thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to join us on the Captain's Arena.
Thank you, Simba.
That's it.
And your team for having us.
That's it.
Thank you.
Guess what? Take him back online and he said that insurance is a lifestyle. He's a man that I've spoken to and engaged on a lot of issues. Any other question that I've always had on the insurance sector is been the one that I've always been calling. And you can actually see reason to that position where now all those questions I used to ask him, he's got to handle them. And so far he's saying in his tenure, not 100%, but he's happy with what he's done so far. Take him back online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is the Captain's Arena. The company, Aibk. Learn them, know what they do, be a part of the insurance sector conversations in this country. Next week is a time for us to do this again. Goodbye.